Today, as you're grabbing your seat, I'll just tell you, today's gonna be a little bit different. The end of a year, I think, is always kind of a good time to just pause and look back on things that maybe have happened in the past year, and then look ahead as well. I hope you're doing that in your own personal life and kind of planning for next year, but also reflecting on this last year. And so I actually just wanted to take one of the last weekends of the year here and just tell you what I feel like I'm seeing right now in our church, in our communities, and the opportunities that I think God is putting in front of us in the days ahead. I think, listen, if you're newer to our church, or maybe this is your very first weekend here, your very first time here, I think you could not have picked a better weekend to be here because you should know what we're about. If you're kind of newer to what we're doing here, you should know everything we're about. You should know what we obsess over here. You should know what we get up for in the morning. You should know what makes our hearts beat a little bit faster here at our church. And so I just want you to know what you're being invited in on. Not by me, but I think by God, who created you for purpose and on purpose. And before I do any of that, though, I just want to actually share some things personally that I've been wanting to express to you in this season. I told you, if you were around in the summer, I told you last summer in August as we were going into the fall that we were going to stay focused as a church. We just kind of set that as our, we set the course and said we're going to stay focused as a church on who Jesus is and the mission he's given us. And I want you to know, LCBC, you've done that. You've done that. You have stayed focused on introducing more people to Jesus and together fully following him. I want to tell you that I could not be more proud to stand with a group of people than I am to be a part of what God is doing through you. You've stayed united in a world divided this year. You've loved deeply when there's been a lot of bitterness in the air at times. You've invited people to church with urgency. You've given with gratitude. You've served with passion. And I believe that because of all of that, because of your willingness to do that, because of your willingness to stay focused, I believe that we are seeing God do some very special things in our midst here. And so I wanted you to see some of the things I get to see. Just a very small snapshot of what we've seen God doing here this last year. Take a look. Our mission is to introduce people to Jesus and together fully follow him. And what started in a garage 38 years ago is now 23 locations across the state, with even more groups meeting in smaller communities across the country, now across the world.
It has been incredible to see what God is doing at LCBC Hanover. Just a few years ago, we were averaging a little under 200 people. A month ago, we had over 750 people in our building. About 100 people in that same time frame have made decisions to follow Jesus. And we're also celebrating the fact that we're going to double the size of our building through a building expansion.
Here's what's crazy about Church Online. We are now doubled the amount of people that are checking in every single weekend saying, this is my church. We are about to cross 1,000 people checking in for the very first time through Church Online this year.
I'm so excited to say we have 154 students who have said they trust Jesus. We have 612 who are engaged in serving on the weekend. We've grown by 12% in HSM and in Collide. We've also had record-breaking attendance at camp this year. 11 of the students said that they want to join us in full-time ministry. We're not only seeing lives change, but future leaders built, and we're excited to see what God is going to continue to do in LCBC students.
I have had so many people pour into me in ways that I've never been poured into before. As soon as I started to see people's lives being changed, that just completely changed my outlook on leadership.
We are on track to baptize more people this year than we have ever baptized in a single year. We hear stories every single week of someone giving their life to Christ for the first time. We are seeing a new generation, and they are boldly following Jesus. And I am absolutely convinced that we have seen all of these great things in our church because we have stayed relentlessly focused on the mission of introducing more people to Jesus and together fully following him. So that's what you're a part of. That's what you're a part of. We have so much to celebrate. We have so much to celebrate. And you know, sometimes after seeing all that God is doing, I see something like that. I see a summary that captures the essence of all God is doing here. Sometimes the only prayer I can muster in a moment like that is just, God, more of that, please. God, just please more of that. Just let us be a part of more of that. You know, it is a privilege. I use that word all the time. It is a privilege to be a part of what God is doing here. It's a privilege to serve. It's a privilege to hold doors open for people. It's a privilege to serve on our production team. It's a privilege to lead middle school guys. It's a privilege to serve in our nursery and kid ministry environments. It's a privilege to get to be a small part of what God is doing in our community, across our state, across our country, and our world now through LCBC. And that's just a snapshot of some of the things we've seen. I also want to look ahead today and talk about what's out in front of us as well. And what I want to do today is I actually want to talk about the power of vision in our lives and for this church. A sense, vision being a sense that there is something greater out there, something greater to live for. And I know there's all sorts of different definitions for that word vision, and you've probably heard your own definitions at times. And but this, I came across this one recently. I just really like this. Vision is a picture of the future that produces passion. I love that idea right there. Vision is a picture of the future that produces passion. Let's break that down for a second. It's a picture of the future. Vision's about what could be. Vision's about what's possible. Vision's about what's beyond us, what's out there. But it's not just that, it produces passion in us. There's something that comes alive in us when we think about what could be. People respond to vision, in other words. People are moved by a greater vision for their life. People will sacrifice for greater vision. And I just want you to know that as people, as men and women, man, it doesn't matter who you are, we are hungry for vision. We long for vision in our life. In fact, this is how the Bible says it. This is in Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18. When the wisest man to ever live, his name was Solomon, King Solomon, he wrote this. He says, where there's no vision, the people perish. Where there's nothing greater that you're living for, where there's nothing beyond what you can see to go, man, I want to move towards a greater aim for my life, people shrivel up. There's something inside of us that dies. Can I just ask you, what vision do you have for your life? What do you believe is possible for you? What God could do through you? What vision do you have for your marriage? What vision do you have for yourself as a parent? The kind of family you want to lead? For the kind of friend, what's your vision for the kind of friend that you want to be and what God could do through your relationships? And let me tell you why this matters so much, to get a sense of vision for our lives. Because without a clear sense of vision for your life, you're going to spend a lot of time and energy wasted chasing the wrong things. That's just the bottom line. My little guy, Solomon, he's my youngest, he's 6 years old. And he played flag football this fall. If you've never been to a flag football game of 6-year-olds, don't. I'll give you that hour of your life back. It's not fun to watch, but anyway, but I'm his dad, so I gotta go. So I'm at these flag football games, and all year long, we've been working on this one key objective when Solomon was on defense, and it goes like this. Solomon, when you're on defense, first of all, what's defense? When we don't have the ball. Good, all right. When you're on defense, find the ball, pull the flag. I tried to make it real simple, you know what I mean? Find the ball, pull the flag. I was like, you got it? He's like, got it. I was like, find the ball, pull the flag. You got it? Got it. He never did it. But then the last game of the season, he's had a whole year. He's not a rookie anymore, you know what I mean? So he's had a whole year. And there's this kid on the other team, and this kid is sprinting down the opposite sideline where Solomon was, and Solomon locates him. Step one, completed, find the ball. I'm like, oh, hey, he's 50% of the way there. He finds the ball, and then Solomon starts in pursuit. He takes off after him. I'm like, this is it. He has an angle on him. Solomon's running faster than I've ever seen his little 6-year-old legs run. And I'm like, this is the moment. He reaches the kid and then just starts running beside him. Like they're on a rail trail, just enjoying a fall day. Solomon, I'm not kidding, escorted him into the end zone. Without a clear sense of what you were put on the field to do, you might be running around a lot. You might be spending a lot of energy. Lots of things are happening, but you might be missing the whole point. And listen, some of you are here today and you understand that at a kind of a fundamental level. Because some of you are here and you've got a deep sense that you are missing the point right now in life. Not because things aren't happening. There's lots of things happening, lots of running around happening. You're running, things are happening. You got the things you thought you wanted. You made partner, you got the wife, you got the house, you graduated with honors. You've done some stuff, and yet some of us cannot help feeling like we're missing the point because it's not tied to any greater vision. And that's because God says until the mission and vision of your life is aligned with His, you'll miss the point. Or the way Jesus said it with a bit more poignancy is that you can gain the entire world and lose your soul. I want you to know that God's vision for your life is very simple. If you were to kind of pin me down and go, what's God's vision for my life then, Jason? How would I know it? I would say just as three things. God's vision for your life is to know God, to walk with God, and to join God in His work in this world. To know God. In other words, to enter into personal relationship with God through the work that Jesus Christ has done on your behalf. It's to walk with God. In other words, once you are introduced to Him, once you form a relationship, you begin to walk with Him. You grow into an intimate relationship with God. You know that God wants to know you. God wants to be known by you. He wants to walk with you through every valley, through every peak of life. But it's to also join God in His work in this world. He has good plans for you. He has purposes for your life. Ways that He wants to use your gifts and your strengths and your stories and your experiences to bring hope and healing to the world around you. Without vision, people shrivel up into small versions of themselves, small self-centered lives. God has great vision for your life. But when we lose sight of vision for our lives, it's possible to spend a lot of energy chasing a lot of things and end up missing the entire point. That's true about us personally, but it's also true about us collectively as a church. In other words, if we don't have a clear sense of vision as a church, as a collective people here, it's possible to spend a lot of time and energy on things that just aren't doing anything to introduce more people to Jesus and together fully follow Him. And if you were to ask, again, if you were to kind of pin me down and say, Jason, what's the sort of then the ultimate vision of our church? You know what I would tell you? I would just point you to our name. That's what I would do. It's in our name. Lives changed by Christ. And I see that and I just go, God, just give us more of that. God, would you just give us the privilege of seeing more of that? More lives changed by you, Jesus. And you know, something struck me this last week, even about our name. You know, our name it's not just a description of who we are. Our name is also a promise. It's a vision of what's possible for you, for everyone. It's a promise about what God can do in anyone who is willing to place their lives in the hands of Jesus. He can change us. He can change us. He can change our relationships. He can change our marriage. He can change the thing that you're struggling with right now. He can heal our hurts. He can free us from what binds us up. He can give peace when we are in the storms of life. He can bring hope when we feel like we are in the dark. And this is why we exist, to see more lives changed by Christ. And with that in mind, let me just drill down a little further. Because as I've thought about that this year, the vision to see more lives changed, it really kind of breaks down into three areas that we're running after, that we are focused on right now. Three areas of vision that we are seeing momentum in, that we're just asking, God, do more of that. God, would you just do more of that? It really comes down to these three areas, our vision. We want to reach the state where God has put us right now. We want to see more lives changed by Christ. We want to invest in the next generation. And we want to continue to pour out all the love we can through local and global initiatives on people who are hurting and in need. Let me just tell you about each one of these and why they matter so much. Let's just talk about reaching our state. Listen to this verse. This is in Acts chapter 1. This is Jesus' final words to his followers. This is what he says. But you, my followers, not pastors, not people who've gone to Bible college. He's saying you, anybody who follows me, you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you to do what? You'll be my witnesses. Telling people about me everywhere. Where? In Jerusalem, throughout Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And that was their local context, then their regional context, then if you want to think about it, our state context, and in their national context, to the ends of the earth. You know, we are here today because they took that seriously. In other words, Jesus is saying that I'm sending you. Once you become a life changed by Christ, I'm sending you out now to be my representative, to bring hope and grace to those that I've put you in proximity to. Guys, can you imagine the impact of thousands of us at this church taking seriously the invitation of Jesus to leave here and go into our places of work, go into our communities, go into our schools, and live as representatives of Christ? The stakes are so high with this one. I know you don't need me to tell you this, but there are countless people that God is putting you and I in a position to reach who do not know the hope that they have in Christ, who are bound up and feel despair today, who are going through the motions of life and do not know that they were created for a personal relationship with God. And our aim and our vision is that every resident of our state has a life-giving, Jesus-centered, outward-focused church accessible to them. Why? Because we want every resident of this state to know Jesus and experience his grace. Everyone. This is why we're committed to launching more LCBC campuses and new communities. This is why we're now partnering with 63 other churches in our state to come alongside them and help them go further faster as they reach people. Do whatever we can to just help them. This is why we're using our digital and online platforms to show up for people before they ever show up to church. And we've seen some incredible things this year. I'll just highlight a few. You know, we now actually have 24 locations throughout the state of Pennsylvania. In the video earlier, I said 23. That's because that was recorded back in summer. We've launched another one since then. We got 24 locations. Some real cool developments this year. We've actually seen some traction heading out to the western part of the state. And so that dot that's furthest west, I go back to middle school geography, it's this side, all right? So furthest west, that's actually Altoona. We've got Altoona off the ground. They've been seeing some real cool things. They're meeting in a beef jerky facility, which I think is amazing to say. They transform it every single Sunday to look like LCBC, to look like us. And even a few weekends ago, they baptized a few people. It was chilly out there, and so they couldn't do it in the beef jerky facility. They had to do it outside in the parking lot. And because it was cold, they didn't know what to do. So anyways, they got real, they kind of just put their heads together and go, how do we get this water warm? They just brought in a bunch of turkey fryers and just started warming the water. I'm like, that's the most Altoona thing I've ever heard, and I'm here for it, man. We're gonna baptize people in turkey fryers. So anyways, it's amazing what's happening out there, and it's real fun to see us getting into that western side of the state. If we're gonna reach the state, we gotta continue to go, man, God, where are you leading? We're doubling the size of our Hanover campus to make room for the incredible growth they've seen. We're in the middle right now of building our Sinking Spring campus that's gonna open by Easter, and we believe has the potential to reach thousands of people in that region. We've got contracts on properties right now in the West York region and the Willow Street area that we believe could eventually become permanent homes for those campuses. And here's something actually really cool. We actually also have smaller groups of people, 40, 50, 60 people that are meeting in other communities. You can see these orange dots on the map here. These are not fully built out locations. They're just People now meeting to watch our gatherings in Selinsgrove and Williamsport, State College on the campus of Penn State University in Reading. And I'm very excited to tell you that today, even out in the Allentown, Bethlehem area, we've grown so much out there that we've now moved them into a movie theater in Center Valley where they are meeting today for the very first time. We want to welcome you. We want to say, man, we're so glad. Which I guess technically means now we've got 25 locations. And I think here's what I want to tell you, and I think you know this, but I just got to remind you, these aren't buildings. These are not theaters. These aren't schools that we're meeting in. These aren't plots of land. These are spaces and places where people are meeting God. That God can transform into sacred places where lives are being changed by Christ. These are communities where people are finding forgiveness and grace. They're catching a God-sized vision for their lives. And they're being changed. And we just want to see more of that. More of that, Jesus, please. The second area of vision that we're just laser focused on right now is next generation. You know, one of the responsibilities I take very seriously is the responsibility we have to raise up the next generation of our church so that they are ready to take this church into the future when our turn is up. There's a verse that it stops me in my tracks every time I've read it. It comes at a time in the scriptures that God's people had actually been freed from slavery to the Egyptians, and God had done some amazing things to rescue them out of slavery. They had seen God do great things, incredible things, but then the generation who saw all those things happen, they begin to die off one at a time, and nobody prepared the next generation to follow God's lead. And this is what it says. This is in Judges chapter 2, verse 10. It says, all the people of Joshua's generation, when God delivered them out of slavery, all the people of Joshua's time joined the members of their families who had already died. In other words, that generation is gone. Then those who were born after them grew up. They did not know the Lord. They didn't know what he had done. Why? Because no one told them. No one prepared them. No one raised them up. We cannot let that be the story of our church. That can't be the story of our church. We have a responsibility to invest in developing the next generation here, to speak life into them, to point them to truth in a really confusing world right now, and it's confusing. To anchor them in the love of God so that when, not if, but when life gets shaky, they can stand strong in the love of Jesus Christ for them. You know, we've seen a ton of momentum in our summer camp experiences for students, and we're doing whatever we can to expand our capacity in the days ahead to get even more students than ever to our summer camps. And I'll just speak very personally here for a second. You know, the reason I'm standing here today is because of a life-altering experience I had at a summer camp. I was planning on being a basketball coach. That was my life's aim. I'm sure I would have been state champion like multiple times over by now, but that wasn't God's direction. Because then I went to a summer camp and I was leading at that camp that summer, and I had a front row seat to seeing the lives of students being changed. The lives of students the hearts of students being captured by the grace of God. I got to see it, them giving their lives to Christ, and I decided, man, I just want to do that the rest of my life. God, more of that. And so I know the potential of what happens in those environments, and we're seeing God move in significant ways at our camps, and so we're just re-upping our investment. I'll just tell you, we're gonna always invest in this. We're re-upping our investment and our commitment to these camp experiences. We're also working right now to launch new and expanded opportunities to invest in leadership development for students and young 20-somethings by building out internship opportunities, mentoring young professionals, things we're gonna get up and running in the coming days, expanding our 2-year residency program for post-college young adults. I want you to know what you've been a part of. Do you know that you've now sent close to 100 young men and women into full-time ministry after they've completed our Develop program here? You've created that kind of environment. And what's fun to dream about is that this renewed focus on leadership development of the next generation is already being adapted so that all of our church, you included, can benefit from it. We got plans now to make more and more opportunities for Christ-centered leadership development available to everyone here in the future so that you can lead with more confidence and clarity in your work, in your home, and here at our church. And here's the thing, and here's why, again, this matters so much. In order to be ready to go where God might be leading us to go in the future, we don't need a couple dozen more leaders raised up. We don't need hundreds more leaders raised up. We need thousands ready. Thousands ready to make a kingdom impact. We need thousands more empowered and activated to be men and women of influence for the kingdom. God's at work in the next generation of this church. We just want to see more of it. God, can we just see more of it? And the last area our vision really falls under that we're just focused on right now is local and global initiatives. I love this passage. I love how simple Jesus just made things. He said this in Matthew chapter 5. He just said, let your good deeds shine out. Just let your good deeds shine out for all to see. Why? So that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. You know, the credibility of the church rests on our willingness to keep showing up for people who are the most vulnerable and help meet their needs. You know why this matters? See, when I was growing up, I played a lot of sports, played a ton of sports. You know the worst thing you could say about another person on the other team is they're all talk. That's the worst thing you say. They're all talk. In other words, they talk a good game, they just don't play the game that they talk like they can play. They talk a good game. Listen, guys, we cannot become a church that's all talk. Can't become a church that's all talk. That just talks about loving others, just doesn't do it. Talks about serving others, but just refuses to get involved. Can't go there. This past spring, we took an entire day. We set apart a Saturday in spring, in the month of May, to just show up for our communities. We said we can't be all talk, so we just showed up across communities all over the state, really all over the country. And we just decided to serve in all sorts of ways with no strings attached. We called that day Impact PA, and 10,000 of you showed up on that day. And I'm gonna tell you now, we're planning again to do it again this May. We have vision to expand our work into prisons by getting Hope Packs into the hands of 25,000 prisoners eventually. We're continuing to take ground. We're continuing to go, God, how can we show up for people who can't do anything for us in return? Right now, we've got sponsoring, as you saw a moment ago, we're sponsoring just under 8,000 children. That's you. That's what you're doing in 8 different countries that we're partnered with. And we're continuing to deepen our work in these countries because the credibility of the message of Jesus is at stake based on how willing his people are to let their good deeds shine. What is vision? What is vision? Vision is a picture of the future that produces passion. And I've told you about some of the ways our vision is playing itself out, but maybe it's actually better to give you a picture, to see for yourself how the vision is coming to life. Take a look at this.
I'm Megan McGuire, building principal at Fairview here for the last 10 years in both an assistant and principal role. We service about 600 to 650 students every year. Our building experiences a lot of economically disadvantaged situations. So about 70% of our kids are falling below that poverty line. And so that brings some unique challenges to our kids and our families, obviously. Our playground before was riddled with trash and sometimes worse than trash. All of those things were a big passion for one of our former teachers, our wellness teacher, Mrs. Lori Akers, really getting safe space for our kids to play and interact and have somewhere to go. Her passing ended up being a very large impetus to getting the project really off the ground in a very big way. Building a playground is never going to be the priority for educating kids, but it's a part of growing kids. So we went from one tiny little piece of equipment out there to, this big vision for a 3-phase project of how we could really build out this incredible outdoor space. So we had t-shirts and campaigns and all kinds of things going on that we were doing as fundraisers. And we got phase 1 funded very quickly. So that was exciting and everybody got really like, oh my gosh, this might actually happen. And then we were kind of stuck because the next piece was the big piece. Kept working, kept grinding. We got that phase funded, ordered, ready. And then we were like, okay, like phase 3 is never happening. It's not quite where we wanted to be, but it's great. We were like, okay, maybe we need to be okay with good enough. You know, we kind of backed off the trigger a little bit. And then all of a sudden, LCBC reached out and said, like, what's your big dream for this year? And I'm like, it's still the playground.
Once we started dreaming with Megan about the playground and like what that might look like, and even we just thought, like, can we make an impact here?
We got to have about $40,000 to make that happen. And I don't know how we're going to possibly get there. And so he said, okay, that sounds great. You know, we talked about some other smaller things.
When we presented it to our people, they blew us out of the water with the ways that they were generous. Then Church Online kind of hit us up and was like, hey, we actually want to be a part of this.
And they showed up. We talked about a couple of random things, and they said, oh, one more thing, and slid an envelope across the table. And I opened it up, and it was a letter. And as I started reading, I just cried because they gave us a check for the rest. And so the exact dollar amount of the final piece was in my hand. And they were like, what? How is that possible? How can this matter so much to somebody that you're gonna do that for us?
Just being able to show them, like, God cares about you, and he wanted to give this to you, and here's the finish line. You have it. You saw it start with Mrs. Akers, and now you're seeing it finish, and you're playing on it. There's not much better than that.
When I made a morning announcement, you could hear the roar through the entire building. Teachers were sending me pictures and videos all day of the kids on the equipment and so excited and playing, and just to be able to stand back at the entrance and see them all over all of that equipment and be able to say, like, we did it, you know, and like our kids now have what Lori wanted and what they deserve. It's not just a spot for them to play. It's a spot for them to grow and learn and become better people through play. And I don't think that goes away, no matter what. We were seeing families and kids coming after school hours again, showing up early before arrival and playing on the playground, staying after school. You know, parents would pick up their kids and just walk over and let them play for a while. And not only do we see it in those physical structures that are there because of it, we see it in the interactions that are now taking place because those structures are there. The whole world can see the love that was poured into these kids. That kind of love is very easy to see.
Hi, I'm Ruby Myers. I'm a sophomore at the Hazleton Area Academy of Sciences, also known as STEM.
I'm Gianni. I go to the Hazleton Area High School. Camp is definitely a life-changing experience. Our teachings encourage us to take it home, take it to our schools. I think it changed me, my relationship with God, but it also made me realize that He put me in a place where I need to pull other people to follow Him.
My whole entire life, I've been called outgoing, too loud, too energetic, annoying because I'm constantly talking and just want to be bubbly and happy to see people. So I talked to Joe and I was like, okay, well maybe this is a gift from God, even though I've been criticized about it my whole life. Maybe it's a light that I could use. And he was like, I've also been called loud my whole life. And I started a high school group when I was in high school myself. And I was like, okay, well that's something I could see myself doing. And then on the way home from high school camp, I was like, okay, wait, I'm gonna start a club at the high school. As soon as I got off the bus, I ran to my mom, who was talking to Gianni's mom, and I was like, this is something I really wanna do. Can we figure out how to do this? Not knowing that Gianni was thinking the same exact thing.
I was thinking about it. Ruby was also thinking about it. I didn't really know that Ruby was thinking about starting a club, but
Gianni and I later FaceTimed, I think 2 days after camp, and we were like, let's do this. How are we gonna do this?
At an event after camp, I went right to Corrine and I just threw that idea at her, and she texted me the night of and she was just like, we need to continue this.
My name is Corinne Gerhardt. I'm an emotional support teacher at Hazleton Area High School. I have the opportunity to work alongside Gianni and Ruby as they try to pioneer a high school ministry club within our public school. Having them come out of high school camp and seeing them walk so confidently in their faith and attempt to do something like this is just incredible, and I am beyond proud of them for that.
Since we got the Korean conversation, we planned meetings with the principal and the school board like we talked about. We also went to Corey, who is our leader here at Hazelton, and just try to figure out more lesson plans and things that we could really hit home with high schoolers.
Starting the club is important, obviously, for not just myself and growing my faith, but other students. Bringing them to God, like I said, is just, it's almost a must for me.
My best friends, if they can be in heaven with me one day, just from us saying we want to start this high school club, is insane. That's the goal.
But I think when God is brought into a community, a club, or a high school, it could change a lot.
I was born with Holt Oram. It affects the hands and the hearts, the upper extremities, I should say. And I've tried to be comfortable in my own skin. Growing up, my parents taught me to try. I didn't know what I was going to be able to do without trying. So I think things changed when I started going to school. The kids were mean. They made me not feel accepted. I've lived my whole life doing everything and trying to blend in with everybody else and just fight through the pain, fight through the awkwardness, just get through. I have hidden from this world for 48 years. I hid all my life. My mom sent me a text saying, hey, they're opening an LCBC in Willow Street. And my first response was, they're building a church for me? As soon as I heard LCBC, it was like, hey, Amy, it's time to go back to church. That next Sunday, I made it a point. I was going there if I had to go by myself. And walking in there, I felt at home. I've always lived like I thought I was a good person. I thought I was a Christian. I believed in God. I just never took the time to spend time with God and to learn about Him. I just believed what people told me. I thought the Bible was like a book of just verses. When I started reading it, I realized there was a story. There were stories in it. I feel like He gives me these stepping stones. Like all the pieces kind of come together and I get clarity. Then I feel myself grow in my faith a little more every time. I started surrounding myself with goodness. I felt the power of Him fill me. And I knew that I wanted to follow Jesus. So December 12th is when I chose to fully accept Jesus into my heart, into every part of my heart. Slowly, I started to become more and more comfortable in my own skin. I started doing things that were different than I have done before. I decided that I wanted to serve, like to be a greeter of some sort. I could be behind the scenes a little bit somewhere, like I wasn't fully out. So the second time I go to serve, that I'm having my test run, Alex comes up to me and is like, hey, I'd like to put you in the elbow by yourself. When you walk into Willow Street, you have like your new here, your coffee shop. And when you keep walking forward, you're gonna have to make a left turn to go back to the auditorium. That turn right there is what they call the elbow. Old me would have never put myself there because people would have seen me. And I was like, okay, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And I went down and I was so proud to stand at the elbow. Like, that's my place because I draw everybody's attention to me when they get there to say hello. And then when they're leaving, I get to see everybody and they get to see me. I am so happy following Jesus. I had this very strong feeling, Amy, get baptized. This would be incredible. Marlene and Drew both asked me who I wanted to witness, if I wanted somebody in the water with me. And my response was nobody physically. Jesus is in the water with me now. And I know that now. I know that He's with me always. I didn't have that before, but I have that now. And now I just want to shout it out to everybody that I'm a follower and I'm proud to be a follower. And I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm here. I want to be seen. Like Jesus wanted me to be seen. I'm Amy, and I'm a life changed by Christ.
Can you see what's possible? Can you see what's possible if we commit to reaching our state? How many more Amy's will come to know that they have a Savior who's always seen them and loves them beyond measure? How many more families will be restored? How many more addictions will be broken? How many more people who are hypnotized by apathy will be woken up to the reality of a life of meaning and purpose found in Christ? Can you see what's possible if we prepare the next generation to be grounded in faith and confident in their influence? Can you see a generation of young men and women like Ruby and Gianni who are rooted in their faith and live with the assurance that no matter what the world tells them, they are loved by God and they are chosen by Him for good works in this world? Can you see what's possible if we continue to serve our state, our country, our world with no strings attached, so that the poor and under-resourced are cared for, the forgotten find companionship, the broken find healing, and kids in under-resourced areas get playgrounds to play on? I just look at all that and I just pray, God, just give us more, please. Give us more of that. I just want to be a part of more of that. And I want you to know today, you matter. You matter so much to God, and you matter to the work He's doing in this world. Your inviting people here matters. You're bringing people to Christmas, it matters. More than you may ever know. Your giving here matters. Your serving here matters. God is using it all to write a story that is greater than a story any one of us could write on our own. But He's writing it together.